Ever feel like you get your best ideas like super late at night,
Yeah.
but like work wants you at your desk first thing in the morning? We're going to dig into that today.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to look at like how the 9 to 5 structure even became a thing and why it might not work for our brains.
Right.
And then we'll see what other options there are out there.
It's a super relevant topic,
Yeah.
especially with more and more people questioning the whole traditional work model.
Absolutely. For this deep dive, our source is called Why the 9 to 5 Grind is Killing Your Potential.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's got some really interesting points.
Mm.
By the end of this, you'll understand where this whole 9 to 5 came from and why it might be holding you back.
Okay.
And how to potentially break free from it.
Sounds good.
All right. So first things first, the 9 to 5 isn't like some law of the universe, right?
No, not at all.
It's not like set in stone.
It's actually a pretty new thing, historically speaking.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think back to the Industrial Revolution,
sure.
factories, assembly lines, all about making as much stuff as possible.
Okay.
That's where the 9 to 5 workday really started. It was all about efficiency.
Yeah, that makes sense for a factory. But like, we're not just cogs in a machine anymore, right?
Exactly.
Our work needs creativity, collaboration, deep thinking.
That's where the 9 to 5 starts to break down.
Okay.
The text actually says something pretty interesting.
Okay, what's that?
It says that the 9 to 5 was designed for efficiency,
Right.
but it wasn't designed for how our brains actually work,
Right.
like with energy and creativity.
Okay, so it might be outdated,
Yeah.
but how does it actually hurt us?
Okay, so imagine this. You're like a night owl.
Yeah.
You get all your best ideas at midnight,
Oh, yeah.
but you got to be at work by 9 a.m., even though your brain is still half asleep.
Yeah.
Trying to be creative on a schedule like that,
Yeah.
that's how you get burned out.
Burn out.
Mm.
I've been there. It's not just being tired. It's feeling like you're just going through the motions. You know, you're not really contributing anything meaningful.
Yeah,
This text talked about feeling like a cog in a machine.
right.
And that really resonated with me.
Yeah, it goes beyond just being tired.
Yeah.
There's a psychological impact, too.
Okay.
The 9 to 5, especially if you're doing the same stuff over and over,
Right.
can make you feel like you have no control.
Yeah.
You have no control over your time, your schedule,
Right.
and that can really drain you mentally.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Humans need some freedom
Yeah.
to plan their day to work when they feel energized.
Like we're trying to fit square pegs into round holes.
Exactly.
We all have different rhythms,
Right.
different peak performance times,
Yeah.
trying to cram everyone into the same 9 to 5 mold.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
But even beyond burnout,
Yeah.
I imagine this lack of control
Mm-hmm.
can affect your work in other ways.
Absolutely.
Like what?
The text says this can actually stifle creativity and innovation. If you constantly feel drained and micromanaged, it's hard to come up with fresh ideas.
Right.
Or find inspiration.
I see that.
You're too busy just trying to get through the day.
You end up just going through the motions
Right.
instead of really engaging with your work.
Exactly.
So we've established that the 9 to 5 might not be the best model
yeah.
for everyone.
For everyone.
But what are the alternatives?
Right.
Do we all need to become entrepreneurs or digital nomads?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
This source talks about remote work, freelancing, even flexible hours at a regular company.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you.
This part about asynchronous work really caught my eye.
Okay.
So it basically means you get stuff done on your own time.
Right.
As long as you meet your deadlines.
Yeah.
But it's more than just working from home.
Yeah.
It's about having the flexibility to plan your day
Right.
around your own energy and focus.
Exactly.
That sounds amazing.
It can be really freeing
Yeah.
and empowering, too. This text says that this flexibility can boost creativity and productivity.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
When you work, when you're at your best,
Yeah.
you naturally get more done.
Right.
And the quality of your work improves.
So it's not just about personal preference.
Right.
It's about working smarter.
It is.
But how do you actually make that shift?
Yeah.
It seems pretty scary to go from a stable 9 to 5 to something totally different.
This is where things get practical.
Okay.
The text gives some good advice.
Sure. What is it?
Financial planning is key,
Okay.
especially if you're thinking about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You need a safety net.
Makes sense.
Building a personal brand or a side hustle.
Okay.
That can be a good way to transition gradually.
It's like dipping your toes in the water
Exactly.
before taking the plunge.
Yeah.
You can test out a different work style
Right.
and start building that financial safety net.
At the same time.
That's smart.
It is.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to work. But before we get too carried away with escaping the 9 to 5,
Hmm.
I want to hear more about what this asynchronous work actually looks like.
Right.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Let's dive into some different forms it can take
Okay.
and how it works in various work environments.
Great. Okay, so asynchronous work, it sounds awesome in theory, but what does it actually look like in real life?
Well, it can take many forms, and that's kind of the cool part about it.
Okay.
It really depends on the work and the team involved.
Okay.
But let's try and paint a few pictures.
Perfect. I love a good word picture.
Okay, so imagine a software development team.
Okay.
Instead of everyone needing to be online at the same time for like daily meetings,
Yeah.
they use project management tools like Asana or Trello to keep track of progress.
Right.
And each developer can work on their tasks whenever they're most productive,
Okay.
leaving updates and comments for their colleagues to check later.
So it's like a silent, super organized dance party. Everyone hitting their cues, but on their own schedule.
Exactly. It's about trusting people to manage their own time
Right.
and contribute effectively without needing constant supervision.
I like that.
Or think about a content marketing team.
Okay.
Instead of brainstorming in a boring conference room,
Yeah.
they might use a shared document or a platform like Slack
Right.
to toss around ideas asynchronously.
Right.
Someone might have a great idea late at night
Yeah.
and jot it down, and then the team can build on it the next day.
So it's almost like capturing those lightning strikes of creativity whenever they hit, instead of trying to force them on a schedule.
Exactly. And that's where these asynchronous communication tools are so helpful.
Right.
Things like email messaging apps, even pre-recorded video updates.
Okay.
It allows for a more flexible flow of information and ideas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it works for people in different time zones.
That's so cool. I can already see how this could be huge for productivity and creativity.
Right.
But what about those people who really like face-to-face interaction? Doesn't this risk isolating people?
That's a good point. It's not about going completely off the grid.
Okay.
The key is balance.
Right.
Even in an asynchronous environment, you can still schedule regular video calls,
Okay.
for team check-ins, virtual coffee breaks, or just to stay connected.
It's like sprinkling in those moments of real-time connection strategically, so you get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
But let's get real.
Yeah.
Not everyone is working at a company that embraces these new ways of working.
Right.
What about someone stuck in a traditional 9-to-5 who's listening to this thinking, this sounds amazing, but I can't just walk into my boss's office and demand an asynchronous work revolution.
I hear you. Big changes take time.
Right.
But even in a traditional structure, you can start to shift things subtly.
Okay.
Remember that advice from the text about paying attention to your energy patterns?
Yeah.
Well, start by figuring out when you're most productive.
Okay.
And try to plan your workday around that as much as possible.
So maybe block out your most productive hours for deep work, even if it means shifting your schedule slightly.
Exactly. Or working on less demanding tasks during your less focused times.
Right. Even small adjustments can make a big difference in your energy and output.
Exactly. And who knows?
But
Those changes might even inspire your colleagues
yeah.
to rethink their own work habits.
It's like planting a seed.
Yeah.
You start with yourself and then maybe it spreads.
Right?
But what about building that financial safety net before making any big changes?
Yeah.
The text mentions side hustles.
Side hustles.
Yeah.
That's where things get interesting.
Oop.
They're not just about making extra money.
Okay, what else are they about?
They're about exploring your passions, testing out new skills, and building your confidence.
So it's like a low-risk way to try out entrepreneurship or freelancing.
Exactly. And these days, the possibilities are endless.
Like what?
You could start a blog or a podcast,
Oh,
offer your skills on freelance platforms,
okay.
create and sell online courses, or even turn a hobby into a small business.
And you can do it all on your own time at your own pace, building it up gradually alongside your 9-to-5.
Exactly. And you never know, that little side project might turn into something much bigger.
I love those stories of people whose passion projects turned into their full-time gigs. It's so inspiring.
It is.
But okay, let's talk about some practical steps. The text mentioned personal branding, which can feel kind of vague. What does that actually look like in action?
Great question. Personal branding isn't just about putting your name on a website.
Okay.
It's about showcasing your expertise
Right.
and building a reputation in your field.
Okay.
One thing you could do is start a blog
Okay.
where you share your knowledge and insights on a specific topic.
So like if you're a graphic designer, you could blog about design trends or share tips and tutorials.
Exactly. Or if you're a programmer, you could blog about coding challenges
Right.
or open source projects you're working on.
Okay.
It's about showing your skills and passion, building a portfolio, and attracting a following.
And that following could potentially turn into clients or even lead to job opportunities.
Absolutely. Another good strategy is engaging actively in online communities.
Okay, how do you do that?
Participate in discussions on forums.
Right.
Answer questions on platforms like Quora,
Mm-hmm.
or contribute to open source projects in your field.
Okay.
It's all about putting yourself out there, networking, and establishing yourself as an expert.
So basically, it's about going beyond just updating your resume and LinkedIn profile. It's about actively building a presence and a reputation online.
Exactly. And the best part is you can do all of this on your own terms.
Yeah.
Building your brand gradually over time while still working your 9 to 5.
This is opening up so many possibilities.
Never right.
So we've talked about asynchronous work side hustles and personal branding, all great ways to start moving towards a more fulfilling work life.
Right.
But let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about the benefits of actually breaking free from that 9 to 5 grind. This text mentioned things like enhanced creativity, greater work-life harmony, and more opportunities for personal growth.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about those? So we talk about the downsides of the 9 to 5
Yeah.
and the potential of asynchronous work,
Right.
and even like how to start a side hustle or build your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those big picture benefits? The
Right.
text mentioned things like
Yeah.
enhanced creativity,
Mhm.
work-life harmony,
Yeah.
personal growth.
Those sound pretty amazing.
Dude, they sound awesome.
And they're all connected, which is
Right.
what's so cool. Like
Right.
when you're not stuck to a 9 to 5 schedule,
Yeah.
you suddenly have more time and energy
Right.
for things that actually make you creative.
So instead of being totally drained by the end of the workday,
Yeah.
you actually have energy left for your passions.
Exactly. Whether it's writing, painting, learning a new language,
Right.
or just spending time with people you care about.
Yeah.
That freedom to plan your day can be really energizing.
And that energy, that balance,
Yeah,
it helps you do your best work.
it does.
So it's like breaking free from the 9 to 5 isn't about working less.
Right.
It's about working better
Exactly.
because you're taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And when you're feeling balanced and happy,
Mm.
you're naturally more motivated to learn and grow.
That makes sense.
To push yourself out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
you might take some online courses, attend workshops,
Right.
maybe even start a totally new career.
It's like when you prioritize your well-being,
Yeah,
everything in your life gets better,
it does.
including your work.
Absolutely.
But what about the money?
Yeah.
A lot of people think the 9 to 5 means stability,
Mm-hmm.
a steady paycheck.
Right.
Is that just an illusion?
It's an illusion of security for sure,
Okay.
but the real risk is staying stuck in a job that makes you unhappy,
Yeah.
a job that's holding you back.
Right.
That's not just bad for your happiness.
Right.
It's bad for your finances in the long run, too.
So sometimes playing it safe is actually the riskiest thing you can do.
Exactly. When you're in a job you hate,
Mm-hmm.
you're less productive,
Yeah.
less likely to get promoted,
Right.
and more likely to burn out.
Yeah.
And then you have to start all over again.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you actually make that leap from the
Mhm.
security of a 9 to 5 to something more fulfilling,
Right.
even if it's scary?
Well, first remember, it's a process. It's
Nice.
not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's about taking small steps.
Right.
The text talks about financial planning,
Right.
building that safety net.
Yeah.
That could mean starting a side hustle,
Right.
cutting back on spending,
Right.
or even just figuring out your financial goals.
It's like laying the groundwork so you're not jumping off a cliff without a parachute.
Exactly.
Right.
And as you're building that foundation,
Mm-hmm.
you can start exploring your options,
Okay.
trying out different ways of working, and
Yeah.
figuring out what really excites you. Maybe you try freelancing on the side,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you take some online courses to learn new skills.
Right.
The key is to be proactive
Okay.
and keep learning and growing.
That's so important.
Yeah.
This isn't just about escaping a job you hate.
Right.
It's about creating a work life that you love.
Exactly.
But what about those people who don't want to quit their jobs?
Mhm.
They just want to make their 9 to 5 a little less soul-crushing.
Yeah,
Any advice for them?
absolutely. Even in a traditional job,
Okay.
you can take control and make your work more meaningful.
How?
One strategy is to become a master of delegation.
Okay.
If you're stuck doing tasks that drain you
Yeah.
and don't use your strengths,
Mm-hmm.
see if you can give those tasks to someone else.
So it's about being strategic with your time and energy
Exactly.
and focusing on things you're good at,
Yeah.
things that make you feel accomplished.
Right. And that might mean talking to your manager
Okay.
about your role and responsibilities.
Okay.
Maybe you can shift your focus take on more challenging projects.
Okay.
Even change your job description.
It's about speaking up for yourself
Right.
and asking for what you need to succeed.
Exactly. And remember, you're not just doing this for yourself.
Yeah.
When you're happier at work, you're a better colleague, a better leader.
Yeah.
And you contribute more to your company's success.
It's a win-win.
It is.
That's a great point.
Okay.
Okay. As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought,
Okay.
like a call to action.
All right.
If the 9 to 5 feels like a trap, if you're looking for more freedom,
Right.
more creativity,
Yeah.
more meaning in your work, take a minute to imagine your ideal work life.
Yes. Ask yourself, what would it look like to design a workday that really works for you?
That's a great question.
What kind of work would make you excited to get out of bed in the morning?
That's a great question. And remember, there's no right answer.
There isn't.
What works for one person might not work for another. It's about finding what's right for you.
Exactly.
And then being brave enough to create a work life that you love.
You have the power to create a work life that you love.
That's so true. Well, that's it for today's deep dive into escaping the 9 to 5 grind.
Yeah.
We hope you found this exploration insightful, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit life-changing.
Until next time, stay curious, stay open to new possibilities, and never stop exploring what it means to work and live with intention, purpose, and joy.